What's up?
Jinx.
Both in different
Episode
backgrounds
6.
this time for episode 6.
No, we both have it. I'm usually like always in the studio, and you're just a world traveler, and it's crazy. Like you're at home, and I'm like doing the travel and the little role reversal.
I feel so nice. Honestly, the last 5 weeks I've been at different Airbnbs or like different states or whatever. So this week I'm in my own house, and it's just like it's such a fresh like breath of air right now. I've been so stressed these last couple weeks, and it's just so nice to finally be home, have a home.
Yeah, it's awesome to get like a new spot because now like you can like when your last house, if you got your couch in a certain spot or your kitchen's in a certain, like you can't remove it, like it's there and you don't want to buy a new one. But like when you get into a new home, like you can start fresh and new. It's a good feeling.
Oh, it's just so, like just to have a place right now. I'm like it's really just everything. Like the fact that I'm not living out of a suitcase this week is just so nice.
Awesome. Well, dude, I love this shirt, by the way. I like that. I don't think I've seen that one.
Always repping.
Always repping. Dude, there's like so much I have to talk to you because we kind of skipped last week. It's all on me. I was super busy before leaving on the trip, and then we were going to record, and I got the worst fucking migraine ever. It was awful. I was on my way to the studio. I'm like, gee, I can't do it. Like, I couldn't even like fake it. I ate ibuprofens, maybe some other stuff to try to help the headache. Nothing helped. It was awful.
I feel like it's like headaches. There's nothing, you can't do anything to get around it. I remember it was probably like a year or two. I was having a lot of like shoulder and neck pain. So whenever I was like had a hard wrestling class, every time I went home, I would get a migraine, and I would just lay in bed for hours. Like the rest of the day, I was just done.
Yeah, it's the worst, dude. It's like nothing. So all right, there's a lot. First and foremost, kind of happened that we kind of predicted in a weird, crazy way. I feel almost bad saying this out loud now. And then something happened. It was Jessica I versus Casey O'Neill. And I just threw it out there. I'm like, hey, I don't wish any bad will on anyone, but if something ever happened with Casey, like that would be like a really good fight you wanted, pay-per-view, all this shit. And dude, I saw the news, like Fight Bananas reported it like literally minutes after Casey did. And so I was like, dude, like this is it. Like this is your matchup. You and I texted back and forth. You're like already set. Like that's the fight I want. And like literally, I think maybe the next morning it was already Macy Barber had that fight. Like they didn't waste any time. Just kind of give me a synopsis real quick minute on trying to get a fight and Macy and O'Neill and just Jessica, just a real quick minute synopsis on that.
I guess obviously I was game for it. Like that's a matchup I want. It's somebody that I've had success against in the past, but at a high rollers, we've grappled against each other and it went fairly well for me. So it's a matchup that I'm really, really confident in, and I would love to. Obviously, Jessica is a big name, and I believe she's still ranked. I think she's still up there, and so it's like that would have just been a great matchup, and it was like 4 weeks notice. So I'm like, that's what I love. Like it's just enough notice where it's like I could really push it, like really get in shape and fight shape and like get ready to go, because it's like I'm always in shape, but you just need that like extra little bit of time to really like gear up 100%. So I'm like, that would have just been 100% ideal. The second you texted me the picture that Casey pulled out, and I was like, all right, like we're getting it, like we're trying for it. Yeah. So I texted it to Dean, and obviously, like Macy's done well. She deserves it. Like I feel like right now with me, I'm like, well, the way my last couple fights are going, I'm like, I can't be picky. I got to take what I can get. So it's like, I'm taking whatever they can give me. So it's like she's coming off a win. So it's like I understand it,
Yeah, and but like that fight, like the UFC sometimes knows who to like make a first phone call to, if that makes sense. Like back like 4 years ago, if someone in a lightweight to welterweight fell out, they knew to call Donald Cerrone. Like he was going to answer the phone call and say yes. He's fighting this weekend, by the way. Good transition by me. That's why I make the big bucks. But like they kind of know that about you. Like to me, that would have been so perfect. 4 weeks out, like I think that would have been like pretty easy. To be honest, like I bet you were on the short list. I bet you they called maybe Macy honestly first, and you had to be second or third, or if Macy didn't take it, it could have been a Savage I fight.
I feel like I'm always I am kind of like I guess, like, the Cerrone in their mind a lot of times.
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
the UFC does always call me for those fights. Like, they always know that I am game and I'm down to take it. So I feel like they do look at me as that. So I probably was on the list somewhere, but just, like, not quite high enough yet. We got to get a couple more wins, and then I'll be first on the list. I'll be the first call.
I know, like you know, and you've told me a couple times about it, but there's probably, I would assume, multiple more. Like, how many times do the UFC call you or give you a name, or like, hey, someone pulled out? And I think we're allowed to talk about it now. Like, I think Priscilla fell out, and it was against the Chinese girl who didn't want to fight you because you were good at jit. Like, so that happens all the time. Like, you are going to get a short notice fight that the fighter doesn't want to take. So, like, I think the UFC does recognize, like, oh, dude, we're calling Gillian. Like, we need to get this spot up. So, not even about that fight announcement. You know, I know you've been busy. Well, I definitely want to talk about the GOAT and training and their new member at the GOAT. That's someone I know very well. We'll kind of hit that in a second. How many fucking fight announcements have there been in the last 2-3 days? Like, have you seen all the, like, there's been 30 UFC sick fight announcements.
I've seen a couple, but honestly, like, I feel like during the week now, it's just been so, like, I've been doing so much just training wise. I've been training probably like 4 or 5 hours in the morning and then like 3 or 4 hours at night. And
Nice.
I've just been like napping in the middle of the day when I can. So it's like I literally have no free time. So I haven't even, I have no idea what you're talking about, honestly. I've seen a couple, but I haven't seen like that many, I guess.
All right, let me. All right, a couple. Well, for one, that just got announced literally 10 minutes before we started recording this. The Max Holloway Volkanovski trilogy is 100% locked. Co-main event UFC 276. That's that. The main event looks like it's going to be Izzy versus Jared Kinnear, middleweight championship on the line. Cody Garbrandt versus Yanni down there, MMA Masters.
I saw that. Yeah.
That was announced. Another girl you know very well, Agapova, that versus Yen got announced.
Who is it?
UFC 277, July 30th.
And who's Mashka fighting?
Gian Fire Fist Kim.
Oh,
who
shit.
Just lost to Marina Rodriguez.
Yeah. That's going to be a good matchup. That's an interesting fight, yeah.
That's a good fight. Thiago Santos versus Jamal Hill. Anthony Smith versus Ankalaev. Robbie Lawler versus Brian Barberena. Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Pedro Munoz.
So that one I feel like is a very interesting matchup.
Dude, that's sick.
At ATT, honestly, I love training with Pedro. Just jiu-jitsu wise, like, he has a very, very technical, very smart jiu-jitsu game.
Right.
But he's also, like, he's just a banger. He loves to go in there and just fucking scrap. So, but O'Malley, I feel like, I don't know if he could handle the pace, like, to keep that going. But I do feel like he's more precise and might be able to catch Pedro earlier, you know? Or, like, be able to keep his distance, make smarter decisions, and, like, where Pedro's going to be swinging big and trying to just, like, get in the firefight, O'Malley will be able to pinpoint it a little bit more. But I also feel like I don't think he can keep up with that pace with Pedro.
I know one of the most underrated UFC fights easily the last year, maybe even the history, was I think it was like 6 months ago, Pedro fought Marab. That was the sickest fight ever. Like, it was like 2.5 rounds. Both guys got like insane major takedowns. There was like 10-8 rounds by both guys, different rounds. It was insane. So sick.
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge Pedro fan.
Yeah, I like that fight a lot. And that, I'm telling you, that was just some. Like, there were so many other fights. You want Buckley got fight announcement. I'm telling you, it was like 30 like in 2 days. I'm out here for the PFL media. It's just like fight announcement. I'm like, Jesus, relax. There's a rumor of Nate Diaz versus Chimaev, which is just like mind blowing. I cannot believe they'll do that, but that's a very strong rumor we're hearing.
I don't know that's hard for me to see happen. I don't know why I don't see Nate wanting that fight, you know?
I know. And it like doesn't make sense either. It's just like, usually, you know, Nate, like we talked about this, I think like a podcast or two ago, but it's kind of funny. Like when Nate fought Leon, like it's kind of the same thing. You never think that they would fight, but I think they needed to give Leon a big name. But I think Chimaev is even past that. Like his name is so big. The Burns fight was so sick. Like just give me Chimaev versus a top guy, like versus Nate. I don't know. Like, yeah. I'm just not feeling it. For some reason, I thought I would like it, and I saw like the faces. Sometimes it's so funny. I don't know if you're like this. Like, you think about what fights could happen or what makes sense. And then like you see the fight poster or you see it on socials and it's like, oh, that's dope. Like that is so sick. And like when you see it, you're like, nah, not into it. Don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's like, I'm a huge Nate Diaz fan too. It's like, I want a good fight for him. I know like Chimaev's on the up and up right now. Like I feel like he needs almost, not that Diaz isn't a tough fight, but he needs almost like somebody who's like a top contender where Diaz is still like, he's not a contender anymore, you know?
Yeah. It's so sick. So let me kind of tell you a funny story. I talked to Felicia yesterday about it, and it's kind of two different stories, one about you and one about Fee. It's like kind of, I guess, flattering. I think flattering is the right word. So I'm out here doing my thing. It's so cool. Like, I don't know if you saw it. I made a post about Anthony Pettis. So, like, there's this room of 12, 13 media members. And, like, no offense, half of them aren't going to see this. Like, most of them are just, like, very goober, very, like, just very methodic, very just, like, the same thing you probably heard or seen over and over and over again. And, like, me and Anthony, we've hung out before. You know, we've had a wild night. You know, I've covered his promotion in Lakeland. Like, we just have more of a legitimate friendship connection, right? So, like, he's going down the list, and he's just like, and he's really nice. Pettis is awesome, very genuine to everyone. But, like, he sees me, and, like, he's like, hey, bro. And, like, we just start, like, having, like, a fun little quick conversation of just, like, us knowing each other. And, like, some of the guys that can see him, like, look at me. It's like, how do they know each other? So, with this kind of the lead, literally a PFL worker said, hey, aren't you friends with Felicia Spencer? I go, yeah. You know, I talk to her weekly. We do a segment on the show every week. She's like, do you think she would ever want to fight? Like, want to come back and be in the 155-pound division? And I'm like, I don't think so, man. Like, she's really happy with her decision. She's like, feels good about it. And also, too, she really does legitimately has one more UFC fight on her, you know, her contract if she ever comes back. So, you know, I don't think the UFC would let her go, to be blunt, but like, it was cool. And then like a fun media member here with us, they said, hey, like, how are you and Gillian? Like, I know like you and Gillian are tight. Like, how did that ever begin? I was like, and I tried to tell him the story, but like, it's just so funny. There's like, not like this. We didn't have like a moment almost. We just like started talking. And I told him, I was like, when I first started, you know, 4 years ago, really going just strictly into MMA, like Gillian was like the first guest like that I had on. And we just kind of continued talking through all this time. He's like, dude, that's the coolest thing. Like you know, Gillian Robertson, like you're friends with Gillian. I'm like, yeah, man, we're cool. Like, I don't know what to say. It was just like kind of like flattering that people here, like they equate me with you and Felicia. It was dope.
I'm like, when you say that, I'm like, oh, people think that's cool.
You know, like I'm telling you, like you, oh my God. Like,
does he know who he's talking about?
Some of the media members, I'm like, oh man, I'm telling you, they're gonna hate me. That's fine. Like, they're just, some of them are just so like, they're so methodical. And like one guy was wearing like a 3-piece suit, but it wasn't like a nice looking suit. Like he looks good. Like in Miami, you're wearing a suit or whatever. Like something that you got at JCPenney, you know, like just like, it was just like, dude, like, I don't know. It's just funny. I'm trying to definitely change the media people up. Like, we need some just like younger blood. I don't know.
Different vibes.
Yeah. Different vibes. Exactly. So it's crazy. But, one question about PFL, and then UFC 274 this weekend, huge. And then, yeah, we got to get to GOAT. We got to get about GOAT and about Juan. So question for you about PFL. Like, almost every media member asked one of the fighters this about how they liked the format, the schedule. Like, would you ever, I think we talked about this before, and like some fighters loved it and some fighters don't. Like, if Kayla's to win the championship, she's got to fight 4 times in 5 months. And even you, as much as like I think about you about that way, you just love to fight. That's a lot. Like, that's a lot, like high end, big fights, because they have such an off season. They didn't start to literally last month was their first, you know, week of the regular season. Like, that's a lot, right? Like, just kind of throwing that out there 4 times in 5 months at high levels. I think that's a lot.
That definitely is a lot. Like, just the camps in general, having to fight that many times. Yeah. And you also have to take into account weight cuts. If you have to cut weight those 4 times, like I know to make 55, like Kayla doesn't have to cut a lot. So it's like, she's not like probably too worried about that aspect of it. But it's like, say you're cutting like 20 pounds to make weight every single time, then it's like that's a lot on your body. Like I don't think that's necessarily healthy to cut weight 4 times in 5 months.
Right. And also, like, I don't have to talk to you about this, about nagging injuries or some bullshit that you get into a fight. Sometimes you win the fight. I remember like a year ago, you won a fight, but like you had awful rug burns on your knee. Like you're like, fuck, it was awful. So
that's every fight.
I just think it's funny. Like, you know, you could get kicked in the ribs and win a fight, but like, you know, I don't have to, you're sore as hell. You don't want to train because you fight in 4 weeks. Like your second fight's right around the corner. It's nuts.
Side note on the rug burn thing, like the UFC mats are probably the worst mats I've ever felt in my life. Just like literally when I fought Tyler Santos, I was on my back the whole time just playing guard. I literally, my whole back looked like it was just like, like road rash. It was just so bad. There's nothing, it feels like sandpaper on your back. There's nothing worse. But yeah, it's definitely, that is a lot. Like just, like I feel like if you did the like back-to-back fights, like say like 2 months in a row, maybe 3 months in a row, then it's like, okay, that's not terrible. But doing, I don't know, you said 4 and 5 months, that's just, it's a lot, but they're fighting for a lot of money. Like you said, they get such a big off season too. So I don't know I don't know which way I like it better, honestly. I feel like with fighting, it's almost nice to have the time in between fights, but like you look at every other sport, they're like how the PFL is, like where they do have a long off season, they got the time off. So, I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, Gillian Robertson at 155.
Shit.
Start eating tacos every day. Oh my dude. So total side note, and she's gonna love me for doing this. Our friend Taylor Sterling's literally texting me as we speak, and she has a fight. Let's just say that. Ooh, this will be fun. So yeah, that'd be breaking news soon. All right, huh?
I said champ camp.
No, we're not. They're not doing that.
They're not.
No.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's, you know, a lot of politics. It's crazy, dude. Crazy. But we'll get into that. She's gonna kill me. All right. Okay, let's talk about GOAT. You're talking about how you're training, how you're killing it, and then you have a new member there, dude. A kid I like a lot. I've called this fight. Yeah, he was the main event, the fight we called.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Exactly.
Let's talk. Yeah, talk about Juan. Talk about GOAT.
So I've been at the GOAT Shed on and off for the last, I would say, month now. Last week was my first week there. I was there like full time. This week we're there again. Honestly exhausted. I feel like the only problem with this place is like, I'm definitely going to be overtraining like on my own account. Like, it's just like, it's too easy to get caught up into it. Like today, like I was like, all right, I'm going to do 3 sparring rounds. And then like, after I sit down, somebody's like, you want a round? I'm like, fuck it, let's go. Like, I'm definitely like overtrained these last 2 weeks, just fucking killing it. But like, I've loved it. It's because I've been loving it so much. I'm like, I've just been like there. Like I said, like I'll tell myself, I'm like, all right, we gotta leave, and then I get caught into more training just because I'm like, it's an easy place to get caught up at. And like awesome. You said, we commentated his fight together at Glass Island Fights. Juan Alvarez. This last week he just came down to Goat Shed, so he's just kind of making his debut there this week, and yeah, it's awesome to see him down there getting work.
Dude, yeah, he's really good. He's got like so much potential. He really did. Like, I know he's got a great jits gym up in the Pensacola area, the gym that actually you were at, Team Remedy, that you did that that session with them. But like, I feel like maybe he needed just a new set of eyes, just a new voice every now and then. And I hope he stays down there. I hope he kind of really takes it in. And I know he loves South Florida. Let's just say that. I think he's a fan of South Florida and like that lifestyle. I think he's into it. So yeah, he's got potential. That kid's good.
It's definitely a different lifestyle being down. Even like driving down to the Goat Shed, I live 30 minutes north of it now, if there's no traffic. So when I go to the gym, like I have 6 o'clock training sessions and I have to leave at 4:45. and I'm sometimes there on time. I'm like, it takes at least an hour and 10 minutes when there's traffic, and it's only 30 minutes when there's no traffic.
Right. You hitting up that dope smoothie place across the street?
Oh yeah, I had to think it's across the street from Goshen. I actually almost went there today after training. I was like, what are we talking about?
Dude, that was a good lunch.
That's my favorite thing about actually moving down to South Florida right now. I'm like, the diversity of food. There's just so much and so much good food down here. So I'm so excited about that aspect of it. And I'm 5 minutes from the beach now, so that's just like ideal for me.
Dude, awesome. Man, we're going to have more beach stories of you just going to sleep or waking up early on the beach. We're going to have more smoothie stories coming up. A couple more minutes and we'll wrap because, I got to roll to the PFL weigh-ins coming up in a little bit. UFC 274, crazy show, absolutely stacked. Lupi Gomez is in the prelim, course co-main, Rose and Carla, main event, Oliveira, Gaethje, Cowboy, Lazone, just so much stacked fights. What's a couple fights that you're super looking forward to? Is there a feeling even in the main event or another fight you're like, Dave, I like this fight, maybe no one's talking about it, or just like, I got Gaethje winning in an upset? Just some thoughts about the UFC 274 card?
I've only really looked into the main card so far. I didn't even know Lupi was on the card, which is dope.
Yeah, love Lupi. Love Lupi.
Do you know what the fight is? It's right underneath the co-main event. I can't remember who it is.
Chandler Ferguson.
That one. I was like, I knew it was a big fight that I was excited for. I'm like, that one I feel like is going to be interesting. Obviously the Rose Carla fight. Honestly, I don't think there's anybody in the world that I'm a bigger fan of than Rose. Like, when I was like an amateur, just like starting to look at fights, starting to watch things, she was in Invicta at the time, and she went out there and like in less than a minute, just like pulled off a flying armbar out of nowhere. And after that, like I was hooked on her, and I fell in love with everything about her. I'm like, all through her Ultimate Fighter career, it's like I was Team Rose the whole time, and then like even all through her career, and it's like last time I was in Colorado, I got to meet her. And I'm like, I've gotten to meet a lot of people through the sport, like a lot of big UFC fighters, but she was one person where I'm just like, I'm such a big fan of you. It's 100% fangirling, and it's like, I don't want to be that guy, but I was that guy with her.
All of us have those, like all of us. It doesn't matter how high you get or where you're at in your life. Like everyone has, even the biggest fighters might be like that to The Rock or whatever, to, Justin Bieber. Literally the first name came in my head. I don't know. Whatever it is, like everyone has that. Two things about Rose. You said, one, can Gillian Robertson, can you pull off the shaved head thing? Can you pull off the Rose Namajunas?
I don't think so. I don't know. That's a very bold move. And like, fucking props to her for doing that. Because like,
there's no coming back from it. Like when you do it, you do it. Like,
oh yeah, no, I'm like, but she pulls it off so well, and like she's still like absolutely gorgeous, and like that must be the nicest thing in the world for training, like the nicest thing, because the amount of like trying to keep up with hair, or like even right now I'm like almost brown because I'm too lazy to go get my hair done because it takes like fucking 4 hours to get my hair dyed. I'm like, I don't have time.
How about the eyelashes?
Exactly. I'm like, I got nothing. I'm like, I don't even have makeup on today. We're just completely like too tired for any of that today. But I'm like, that stuff just takes so much time, and like she gets to focus on training 100% now because she doesn't have to focus on all this dumb girly stuff that I have to focus on, like these roots.
She talked about that, like when she first did it, everyone was like, why, whatever. She was like, dude, like I know it sounds so stupid, just that format, like day in, day out, training session out, and even that just, or when you go out, or for media events or whatever, or just so much other shit, like not having to spend time. And I know people are gonna be like, really, like even my hair, it takes fucking time. It just, I don't wake up just like this, you know what I mean? It takes time. So like Rose is like, no, I'm shaved it. She probably does it once a week and she's golden. Like, easy.
I remember I saw when I think it was when she was supposed to fight Paige Van Zandt. It was right before that fight. She shaved her head, and like she was getting a lot of stuff from media, like criticizing her about it. And she's like, "It ain't a beauty pageant. Like we're going out there to fucking fight. That's it." And I'm like, that is the most gangster thing I've ever heard.
She is the best. So you talked about your fandom for Rose. Are you more of a fan of Rose Namajunas or David Van Auken?
Ooh.
All right. Moving on. Next question. So Chandler Ferguson. No, that fight is insane. I think Chandler's going to get the job done, but like that's like a fighter's fight. Like everyone's going to watch that fight. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, and then obviously the main event.
Yes.
I feel like it's almost like Chandler Ferguson and Oliveira Gaethje are like similar matchups in ways.
Yeah. And like I hate to say this because how good they are. It's almost like the main event is Coke, and then the featured fight is like Diet Coke.
Yeah, I'm like it's like Gaethje's just that like I feel like that little bit better than Chandler, and Oliveira's that little bit better than Ferguson, but they're kind of the same fighters in a lot of ways.
100%. Like very, one's more aggressive, power, stand-up strikes, and the other's just grapple and base and very sneaky with submissions, but then also can throw too. Like everyone, so I just rewatched the Oliveira Dustin fight just a day or two ago, kind of just getting ready for this one, and like everyone knows that he submitted Dustin and all that. The first round, Dustin looked good on his feet, especially with that straight left. The second round, Charles looked awesome standing up. He had a nasty knee to the body. He had like 3 or 4 straight rights that connected. And then when he got on the ground, he had a beautiful elbow that like Dustin never, after that elbow was like a minute left in the fight. I'm telling you, anyone to go back and watch it. Dustin was not the same after that elbow. Like he was on cruise control almost and kind of got submitted quickly shortly after that. So I think Charles is just underrated on the feet. He's fucking throwing shit now. He's throwing legit.
Oh yeah, no, I feel like Charles is like one of the biggest threats. Well, like he obviously is a champ. Like he deserves that spot more than anything else because he just had like he does have it all. And like it's been like even in the Ferguson fight, he friggin' almost subbed him and like he mentally broke. He mentally broke when he had Tony in the armbar, as Tony said, and then he knocked him out after.
Crazy, it's so sick. God, like the whole card. And then like the first fight of the night is Cowboy versus Joe, and it's like that's such a sick fight. So I don't know if you saw like Cowboy had like, dude, he was crying during media day because this is the first fight in like 3 years, the whole COVID shit that his son can go. Like his son is now like 5, like 4, like a real boy and kind of will understand. Cause I don't know if you remember, like when he first did it, put the cowboy hat on him, he's like 1 year old. Like he won't have that memory, but now he's like a boy, like he's legitimate, will remember this. And he was like, kind of like in media day, like he was crying and tearing up, thinking about like making that walk in front of the crowd in Phoenix, probably going to get a huge ovation and like front of his son. Like, holy shit. Like if you're, like we talk about betting sometimes on the show, just that alone, like Cowboys winning that fight. Like, I'm sorry, like Cowboys going to win that fight. Like as a dad, like Cowboys winning that fight. He's winning.
I'm like, honestly, whenever one of my friends was telling me, they're like, oh yeah, Joe Lozon's fighting. And I was thinking, I'm like he's one of the older guys. I got a lot of respect for him. I didn't really, like, you don't really want to see him fight like a young up-and-comer and shit like that. And then somebody told me, they're like, oh, no, he's fighting Cowboy. I'm like, that is a dope matchup. Like, I'm excited for it now. I'm like, to see them both be able to go at it. I'm like, I think like that's a perfect way to kick off the card.
It is. It's a really sick card. And the next couple months, I'm telling all these fights, looks like Jones and Stipe is going to happen at the end of July. It's crazy. It's going to be insane. But so last thing, nothing on your forefront, nothing glooming or hopefully
trying to get me a fight. That's it.
Yeah, that's that. So crazy. Looks like there's so much stuff going on. So sooner or later someone will fall out 3 weeks ahead, and
I'm ready.
Macy's not. Macy's not on the list anymore. So you're next.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, man, this was a good one. It's 29 minutes. It flew by. I feel like it was nothing. Shit. We'll roll. Episode 6 of Mic Cuddles, Gillian Robertson. Yeah, maybe we'll see that background again from Gillian. We'll see. That's like I think 6 episodes, 6 different backgrounds. So I like it. We're pulling it off.
Exactly, we're pulling it.
Love it. Awesome. Well, be good. We'll talk to you soon. I'll come down to Fort Lauderdale in the next couple of weeks. Say what up to you, and we'll take it from there.
Peace.
Later.